Then I'm going to get started. Hello, everyone. Met some of you last week, but for those who I did not, my name is Sally Dixon, and I'm a program coordinator for the Connections Alumni Network. Thank you for joining us today for the first session of Digital Skills for the Network Age. This is a certifiable 8-part series, so with regular attendance at the end of the series, you will receive a certificate of completion. This is also an excellent prep for the more intensive cybersecurity education course that begins in March. The usual housekeeping, please keep your microphone muted. This is a small group, so I think, just raise your hands perhaps at whatever. I'm sure Daisy has some things set up because she's going to have a little more chat today than in the previous leadership session. Or you can certainly throw any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that throughout. But for now, I will introduce my colleague, Daisy Thomas. Some of you met her on Friday. For those of you who didn't, Daisy is a strategic visionary who excels at recognizing patterns others miss, particularly in AI implementation and organizational transformation. Daisy has forgotten more about digital skills than I will ever learn, and she is incredibly published with over 700 articles. We're going to put Daisy's full bio online if you want to read about her, but I am going to turn it over to Daisy and get the party started.
Thank you, Sally. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Digital Skills for the Network Age, Introduction to Digital Literacy and Cybersecurity. As mentioned, my name is Daisy Thomas, and I'll be guiding you through today's session. Today is part 1 of our 8-part digital skills training series designed to equip you with tools you can use with confidence. Before we begin, let's get everyone comfortable with a quick poll. What brings you here today? Learning cybersecurity basics, improving digital skills, required for work or school, or just general interest? Let's just take a couple seconds to get that up and going. And since there are just a handful of you, we can actually have a couple minutes to discuss what does bring you here today. So if you want to raise your hand and unmute yourself, I'd love to hear why you're here. A little bit of variety here. So, Boris, what are you doing here today?
Well, I'm so thrilled that you are offering a webinar in digital leadership, and I think such concepts are very popular even on headhunters here in Russia. I see some vacancies for teaching positions to teach digital transformations and disruptive technologies. So I'm curious, and I'm sure that I would benefit from learning some new concepts and terminology, jargon perhaps.
Thank you for sharing that. Dimitri, what brings you here today?
Well, actually, I'm from academia too, so I'm a university professor, but my field is not very related to digital world. I'm a professor of human physiology, but I think our life becomes more and more digital today. So any who is living in modern world need to learn because this digital world gives us more opportunities, but as well digital threats as well. So that's why I decided to join the group and find out more.
Well, thank you for being here. Mikhail.
I just want to say that I'm also from academia, so teaching classes and courses, and some of them are really on quantitative studies and research design. So I emphasize all their like main important statistical principles that are very much essential for the students of humanitarian fields. But that's something that I'm trying to do here at the Kirkuk State University, where I'm located right now. And I feel myself basically alone doing that because not so many people really know about this quantitative, like measurements, statistics, stator, regressions, significance, and many other things. But I'm showing that all the directions of the science and academic and many subjects are going that way. We need to know, we need to constantly update our skills.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Christina, what brings you here today?
Hello, sorry, I don't have a camera today. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a designer in a broad sense. So I have my master's in communication design, in graphic design, and I do all things digital related, including like research on different digital areas, including like emerging technologies, AI, extended reality, and stuff like that. So I'm pretty much pro everything digital, and very curious and trying to jump in for any opportunities that pop up to just learn something new, to see what what's there, what people discussing, what is new, what is maybe what I missed, and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for sharing and for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm hopeful that you'll walk away with some good tips and tricks to come back into your real world lives with. We want this session to be interactive and engaging, so please feel free to use the chat to share your thoughts or raise your hand if you have any questions during the discussion sections. Over the next 8 weeks, we'll build essential skills for today's world. This workshop is part of the Digital Skills Training Series designed to build your digital literacy and cybersecurity skills. And today we will focus on digital literacy and cybersecurity basics. Today, our focus is to, number one, strengthen your understanding of digital literacy and how to find, evaluate, and share information online effectively. And number two, build foundational knowledge of cybersecurity to identify online threats and implement security practices to protect your information. So, what is digital literacy? Digital literacy goes beyond using technology. It's not just about knowing which buttons to click or how to open apps. Think of digital literacy as your navigation system for the internet. It's your ability to confidently explore, understand, and communicate in digital spaces. So let's break down what that really means. Digital literacy is your ability to search and discover information effectively, like knowing how to use advanced search techniques to find exactly what you need, whether it's research for work or checking if that viral social media post is actually true. Thinking critically about what you find means being able to spot the differences between reliable information and misinformation, understanding potential biases, and knowing which sources you can trust. For example, distinguishing between a peer-reviewed research article and an opinion piece. Number three, share and communicate information professionally using digital tools. This includes knowing how to craft clear emails that get responses, collaborate effectively in shared documents, and choose the right communication channel for your message, whether that's a quick chat message or a formal video presentation. These skills aren't just nice to have. They're essential for success in both professional and personal settings. When you have strong digital literacy skills, you can navigate online spaces with confidence, making informed decisions and communicating effectively across any digital platform. So drop an exclamation point in the chat if you've used digital skills today. Okay, so for example, I use digital literacy whenever I need to double check if a news article is legitimate by cross-referencing with reliable sources. So please share a digital task you've done today in the chat, if you've done any today. I know it's evening for a lot of you and you're coming off of the hard days at work. So if any of you have anything to share, please feel free to. That's okay. Digital literacy shapes every aspect of our modern lives. It's the bridge between the physical and digital world. Let me show you how it impacts both our work and personal spheres. In our professional lives, digital literacy is your key to success. It's what helps you lead a seamless video meeting while sharing your screen and managing participant questions, collaborate in real time with colleagues across time zones on shared documents, quickly spot suspicious emails that could put your company's data at risk, stay organized with digital calendars, task management tools, and cloud storage. In our personal lives, digital literacy is equally vital. It empowers you to make informed decisions about which online services to trust with your personal information, connect meaningfully with family, and friends through various digital platforms. Verify the authenticity of news articles before sharing them. And shop online confidently while protecting your financial information. These aren't just convenient skills, they're essential abilities that help us thrive in our interconnected world. How many of you have heard about the recent cyber attack on PowerSchool, which is our nation's largest database of student and faculty information? This impacted educational students and institutions across the nation, and that might resonate with some of you on anyone who relies on digital platforms for school or work. I mean, that was a really big deal here. My children were involved in PowerSchool, so that shows you that really any of these organizations can be hit with a cyber attack. This shows you how even the most trusted systems can be vulnerable. So let's explore the 4 essential building blocks of digital literacy. Think of these as your core skills for navigating the internet with confidence and competence. Number 1, information navigation. This is your ability to find exactly what you need in the vast ocean of online information. It includes using advanced search techniques to find precise information, knowing which sources are credible in your field, understanding how to fact-check information across multiple reliable sources, efficiently organizing and retrieving digital information when you need it. Number 2, critical thinking. This is your digital judgment, your ability to look at online content and assess its value and validity. It means spotting the difference between facts and opinions, recognizing potential biases in online content, and understanding context and questioning sources, making informed decisions about what information to trust and share. Number 3, digital communication. This is about conveying your message effectively in various digital formats. It involves writing clear and professional emails that achieve their purpose, presenting yourself professionally in video meetings, collaborating effectively in shared digital spaces, choosing the right digital channel for your message. Number 4, security awareness. This is your digital street smarts, knowing how to protect yourself and your information online. It includes understanding privacy settings across different platforms, recognizing potential security threats, knowing how to protect sensitive information, making informed decisions about what to share online. These components work together like pieces of a puzzle. For example, when you receive a work email asking for sensitive information, you'll use all 4 skills: navigating to verify the sender's identity, which is information navigation, evaluating if the request makes sense, critical thinking, responding appropriately, which is digital communication, and ensuring you're not compromising security, which is security awareness. So, what does digital literacy mean in your daily life? Can anyone share a few real-world examples where digital literacy played an important role for you? Let's take a few seconds. I hope a few of you would share. Boris, have you had any examples where digital literacy was an important role for you?
Of course, I often organize groups online for my students, and occasionally I also conduct webinars. And sometimes when I have an open event for anyone to join, I should look for some people who would like to sabotage my webinar or some event. And but this happens when I really want to have an open event for anyone who would be interested to participate. So then I have to use some tools how to block other people entering, ignore, and double check who is who and why people are joining. But most of the time, I feel that all these technological disruptive tools are very helpful for financial, personal issues, and often I look for jobs online and apply for jobs online, which is very convenient. Nowadays, most of documents we can send and upload online. We can check our students' thesis online and grade them. So I benefited in many ways from ed tech, fintech, and all other technological options
Thank
and
you.
innovation.
Mikhail, what about you? You have a lot of students. Do you have any examples of digital literacy that you'd mind sharing?
Correct. Today I had a lecture and I did discuss because all these different like steps. First of all, again, the sources. What's the difference between like four many humanitarian subjects, and that is a very big important distinction. Like students, for some reason, cannot really comprehend that correctly. But there are sources and there is secondary literature where they really need to find it. And I always stress that that is Google Scholar that I recommend to like put. And again, just even like the whole way of thinking, because it's the connection between variables. In most of the like in many cases we establish this connection, and that is what the hypothesis. That's another big thing that students are not aware of. They really know the word hypothesis, but the examples and the cases they apply, and even finding that in their own, because I supervise all this term paper, diploma, master's thesis, that's always a big task and challenge for, I think, the vast majority of students. So, in almost any aspect that we work with, like students, I give also lots of presentations in the city, emphasizing again the way how we find sources, what we need to know, how we verify information, how we double check everything, because in like what that's extremely important. Of course, it's talking about fraudsters. I wanted to add here that I think many fraudsters that we could see in the United States, like in the zeros in the 90s, lots of this particular like schemes, techniques, fraudulent operations, they really moved from like America, like they were well, like pretty much established, of course, in lots of countries, but they moved from one country to another. So we need to immediately like identify this, all these different letters, invitations, and other things, and that's something that we're learning, of course, while we're studying. I remember the first time I not remember the first time, but the time I started using Craigslist in America, as soon as I came to one state and I lived there for 2 years. Then I was immediately bombarded. I didn't know at that time with lots of messages. They were known, of course, as Nigerians, but they were sending all these different offers, things, trying to. And then, of course, I it took me. I wish I had knew something about that because there was literally like so much in all these different letters, invitations for different like features and programs they organize. So the more you know, the better it is. And we clearly see everything that starts, for example, let's say in America, then it will come here no matter what. If it's going to be in this country, it's going to be in other countries. We're really much used by these criminal gangs. So we need to be aware of that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that that's a critical point is the fact is no matter how many times you learn about digital skills, you have to keep learning about them because there are constant threats. Every time they are able to shut down some of these ransomware people, another organization pops up in another location and it's like a game of whack-a-mole, that game where the little thing pops up and you have to hit it before it, that's really what we're dealing with. And so it really is important, no matter how all of you seem to be using all of these digital skills that you're going to be learning, but it's really just keeping those skills sharpened and honed because like I said, it's always going to be a problem. It's just our cybersecurity is no different than locking your own doors, right? Like, so
Right.
I love that all of you are already dealing with this. So let's do a quick self-assessment to see where you currently stand in your digital literacy skills. Sally will put up a quick assessment here. Just take a couple minutes, just, a few questions. But it's just about how confident are you in using search engines to find accurate and reliable information? How confident are you in determining whether an online article or website is credible and free of misinformation? How confident are you in communicating professionally? How confident are you in identifying potential cybersecurity threats such as phishing emails and suspicious links? And how confident are you in applying best practices for cybersecurity, such as strong passwords, enabling two-factor authentication, and reviewing privacy settings? Thank you all for sharing. This quiz has asked you about your confidence in navigating online resources, using digital communication tools like email and video conferencing, and recognizing digital safety best practices. So, which areas do you feel the most confident in? Did any of you feel like, oh, here, let's look over the results. So it seems like you all are fairly somewhat confident on most of these, which is great. I think that that's wonderful, especially, we're all dealing with digital spaces constantly. And so making sure that we all feel comfortable, especially as we go out and lead other people into this world of digital craziness, we want to make sure that we're protecting those people that we're leading in. Think of cybersecurity as your digital armor. It's your personal defense system against the world. Just like you take steps to protect your home, locking doors, installing security systems, being careful who you let in, cybersecurity helps you protect your digital life. Cybersecurity is about safeguarding your personal information from passwords to financial details, your devices, computers, phones, and tablets, your digital identity, social media accounts, email, and online profiles, your professional data, work documents, client information, company resources. This protection is essential because digital threats are becoming more sophisticated each day. Our lives are increasingly connected to online systems. One security breach can affect both your personal and professional life. Recovering from a cyber incident can be costly and time-consuming. Think of it this way. Cybersecurity is about creating strong locks for your digital doors, being careful about who you let in, and knowing how to spot potential threats before they become problems. Just as you've developed habits to keep your physical belongings safe, will help you develop strong habits to protect your digital presence. These habits will become your daily digital security routine, helping you navigate the online world with confidence and peace of mind. So basic cybersecurity principles are strong passwords, right? A strong password is at least 12 characters long, uses a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols, and is unique to each account. Don't share your passwords. Two-factor authentication, or 2FA, adds an extra layer of security by requiring a secondary verification like a code sent to your phone or email. Data encryption. Encryption ensures that your data is unreadable to anyone without the proper decryption key, protecting your sensitive information. Secure browsing. When browsing online, look for a padlock icon and the HTTPS in the URL to ensure that the website is secure. Avoid public Wi-Fi for sensitive transactions unless you're using a VPN. Sally, can we put up the next poll? We're going to start a quick poll. Please answer honestly. How often do you update your passwords? Do you use two-factor authentication on your email or bank account logins? I know. I certainly have to. All of my accounts, if I didn't want to, I'm forced to. A lot of my institutions have moved over to two-factor. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Okay, let's dive into some common cyber threats you may encounter. The number one is phishing. Phishing attacks trick users into clicking on malicious links or entering personal information on fake websites. There are so many phishing emails that come through. I use Gmail, but they often get caught through their systems. But some get through. And just a few days ago, I had one that came in saying that they had seen everything that I had been looking at online, and that if I didn't deposit money in this Bitcoin wallet, they would expose me for all that I knew. And I was like reading this, and I was laughing throughout the whole thing because it was clearly where like you could pop in the personal information of whatever computer had been like affected or whatever email. But I was quite surprised at how many typos. You would think with AI at this point, they could spell check some of these ransomware attacks. And, I reported it and it's fine. But those are just going to happen more and more. And with AI, we're seeing an exponential rise in these phishing emails. So making sure you're always using a secure account is incredibly important. Another cybersecurity threat you may encounter is malware. Malware includes viruses, spyware, and ransomware designed to compromise your devices. This can happen often where you might get an email or a link on your phone that pops up that says you need to update something. And if it's not a verifiable source, please don't click that link because you don't know what it could be opening your computer up to. Number 3, ransomware. Ransomware encrypts your data and demands payment for its release, one of the examples I just shared with you. Another big case study about this specific cyber attack was in October of 2024. The Japanese electronics company Casio experienced a massive ransom attack that exposed the personal data of 8,500 individuals, including their employees, their business partners, and their customers. So the attack method was a phishing email that led to ransomware infiltration. This ransomware group, an underground group, threatened to leak the sensitive information if the ransom wasn't paid. Employee records, business partner information, and customer delivery details all had their data compromised. The impact was service disruptions to internal systems and customer portals. Employee data, including personal identifiers and tax information, was exposed. Casio chose not to pay the ransom, which is the right thing. That's the expert advice. Don't ever pay ransom, and focused on the recovery efforts of fixing those problems. The phishing defense, the only thing you can really do is reinforce the importance of spotting phishing attempts, as they often serve as the gateway for the attacks. So if you have students that are not familiar, I'd imagine at this point in society, a lot of people are aware that they shouldn't be clicking on links, but always make sure you're telling your students, please don't click on just random links, because you never know. Someone just innocently can forget. Some emails are getting more and more difficult to spot which ones are fraudulent. So making sure they're looking for those security icons, the HTTPS, those little things really do help. Your data security, implementing strong data protection protocols, including the multi-factor authentication like the 2FA. Now they have multiples, and doing routine audits. Those will really help. Number 3, your incident response plan. Prepare for potential breaches by having a clear response plan that includes collaboration with legal and cybersecurity professionals. A lot of you are in academia, so you have typically a cybersecurity officer or someone within the tech department that can help you with those things. Develop a good relationship with them. They're going to be very helpful as we move on through life. This Casio case, however, highlights how ransomware can affect both global corporations and regional entities, demonstrating the need for cybersecurity awareness, especially in education, business, and public sectors that rely on these digital platforms. Consider your organization's response readiness and review phishing training and system update protocols as part of your digital safety practices. So, Sally, do you have the cybersecurity threat scenario available?
Geez, Daisy, I do not. Let me look into that.
I don't think we need to break out into small groups. I think this group is small enough to keep it just within each other, but I would like to show them some of the examples of the phishing emails or the malware or the suspicious file if we have it available. If not, we can send it out through the email later because they're just examples. That's fine.
Sorry. This
No,
is, yeah, technical issue with my computer, so I apologize. We may have to send it out.
That was just kind of a bonus thing to have. So let's wrap up. Let's review the key points. Number 1, digital literacy involves finding, evaluating, and using digital resources safely and effectively. Number 2, cybersecurity is essential for protecting personal and professional information. Number 3, common cyber threats include phishing, malware, and ransomware, which can be mitigated with good practices like strong passwords, 2-factor authentication, and secure browsing. Next time, we'll focus on data privacy essentials, and we'll explore privacy settings and how your data is collected and used online. We'll share the personal device security checklist in the chat. Please review and complete the following before our next session. Number 1, update your passwords. Number 2, enable 2-factor authentication wherever possible. And number 3, Review the privacy settings on your own devices. They often are updated whenever they do a security update. And so you should be making sure you're reading through the terms and conditions to see exactly what you're agreeing to. Do we have any questions?
Yes, may I ask you a question?
Absolutely, Dimitri.
You said you reported a case of that ransom letter. Do you mean you clicked spam or you reported to some authorities?
I didn't click any link. I never click links in emails. I've learned my lesson over the years, many years of being online. No, was going through my spam folder and I found a spam phishing email like that. And I like finding them because I like looking for what they're phishing for. I find that to be a fascinating use case. This one in particular I found funny because it did seem legitimate, like it somehow were able to go through my computer or my email or whatever it was. There was identifying information throughout it. It had my address, it had listed addresses in previous states. But when I looked into it, it's a common phishing attack. It's just using information that's in your own system. It is not actually pulling it out from your system. It's just able to generate it through your own email. I'm not quite sure how they program that to work, but I did report it to Google, so they took care of that.
Thank you.
But those kind of emails are, more and more prevalent. And so making sure you're using an email server that has that kind of authentication and is reviewing for spam and all of those things. But, even with all of the security issues and things that you can put into place, some things will just get through and you just have to be very aware and be cautious about what information you're putting out there.
When I get this kind of emails, I usually search for the host provider and look for abuse report emails to write, so to prevent it from future attacks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those are excellent tools to double check. And if it's anything that's like a financial institution, I'll go directly to their website and see, making sure that I'm only clicking on their links directly and not anything that comes through my email or my anything, just because, they used to be able to get information from people just by calling up and kind of swindling, people who are older or lonely or whatever, and they just would get all sorts of information. And now they can do it with the click of a button so easily that we really have to be on guard a lot more. And I really appreciate all of you being here and trying to take these steps to ensure that you're keeping your information and those of your students, if you have them, or your fellow employees safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much for attending. I apologize for my technical issues. That was not Daisy. She had an amazing slideshow that I was responsible for that my computer apparently would not cooperate with. I would like to say it was malware preventing it, but that would just be an excuse that I picked up during this course. So I apologize, and we will get all of those out to you. We'll send an email with that information to each of you, as well as the scenarios she had discussed. Daisy, thank you so much for that. Thank you all for attending. This is an 8-week course. The next one is next Monday, January 20th. If you haven't already, you can register at connections.network. And feel free to hang out and ask any questions of Daisy you might have. Thank you all so much for attending.
Thank you, Sally. And all of you, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Go out there and have good digital security practices.
Thank you very much, Daisy, for the webinar. And maybe you could tell us more about your research, as you wrote hundreds of articles. What's your major focus of research?
I focus on the intersection of AI and implementation. I find it to be revelatory in so many ways. And I think that there are ways to incorporate it without losing our humanity. And so that is where my research is focused. I look for pattern recognition across systems. I look for biases. but I more importantly train my AIs to act as very specific AI helpers. They're not to replace humans.
I'm just curious to experiment with you, maybe some AI tools for educational purposes and see if they are available for us, for those located in Russia, because we have restrictions on using some of the sites and applications. And it would be interesting to compare and see, working together, what works and what doesn't work.
I think that that is a fantastic idea. I'd love to look more into that. I would definitely, I'll look into seeing which tools that I'm using specifically that are not available. Like, I apologize, but I wasn't aware that Russia was not tolerant of LinkedIn, that you're not allowed to have LinkedIn. I operate most of my articles, at least over the past 2 years, I've published on LinkedIn. So that's why I was like, oh no, a lot of my people won't be able to read my things. So I publish on Medium also, as well as on Substack. But I do focus on a lot of different subjects on tech. I do a lot of AI policy, and there is just so much to write about and to explore. And then I just love sharing what I learn with everyone else. So I'm very prolific. As soon as I learn something else, I'm out there sharing it with other people.
Daisy, have you ever had a chance to look into legal matters of using applications, AI tools in academia, business, or maybe in even drafting contracts? I don't know, is there any trend in terms of intellectual property, perhaps?
I like using Claude a lot. I think Claude provides a lot of really good starting points for looking into more research. I don't like that it's not up to date. So there's that issue. I know ChatGPT does have like up to date research capabilities. So there's a lot of possibilities with that. And I do really like interacting with it in preparation with training on coding. I think there's a lot of potential there. And I really appreciate its ability to help structure things like business plans. I think that there's a lot of the formatting things that can hold a lot of people up. AI is immensely capable of doing that and helping people accelerate what they're doing with those kind of tools.
Is there any discussion nowadays in academia in terms of using AI for writing thesis or student papers and how this practice should be approached? I don't know, any guidelines for freshmen, perhaps?
I know that there are a number of schools here in the States that are banning the use of AI in writing, and I think that they're off mark on that. I think that you obviously shouldn't rely on AI to create the whole thing, but using AI as like your writing partner, someone you're bouncing off the ideas and helping you structure things, I think is an incredible valuable lesson. Not everyone has an editor at their disposal. So those LLMs are really excellent at helping you formulate good ideas, but then it's on that user to go out and do the research, do the actual writing, making sure that all of it is correct and um, not just hallucinations, right? So I think that there is a problem with people just putting in a prompt into an LLM and then turning that into as their work. That's the issue with a lot of the plagiarism issues. But I think that using it as, like your rough draft partner, I don't have a problem with that personally. And I'm a professional writer. So I think that that's something I've had a lot of conversations on with fellow writers is I don't personally find it that good at creative writing anyway. So I don't see why someone who is a talented creative should be ultimately fearful of the generative AI capabilities because human ingenuity is always going to surpass it, in my opinion.
I'm also curious about current debate in American high schools. Like, are there any school policies or regulations for students and faculty, maybe school admins, about digital tools and including using AI-based tools?
Well, I know there are conversations on the national level, and states all have their own different AI policies. We're states based. Here in Florida, my own county, they use AI, but only within a handful of schools. Not all of the schools are able to use it. I think it's a test market to see. Right now, I know my child's school uses a program called Baxter AI that was developed by two young men out of Silicon Valley, and they sold it to a couple school districts to see if it would work. And my daughter likes it. She likes my stuff that I've built personally better, but she really enjoys being able to learn with AI. And I think it's detrimental to a younger generation to not teach them about AI and how to work with it and how to have safe interactions. The digital cybersecurity stuff is just as important with AI as it is with being on the internet or social media. So teaching kids from a young age, I think, is really, really important. And to not do so just puts them further back than they need to be in terms of the world we're building.
Perhaps all of us are waiting for new disruptive technology coming into our lives and changing everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been someone who's always had a computer. I got my first Macintosh when I was 6 years old. I went to a school that, in the 80s, I had a computer lab. I've always been exposed to tech, and so because I grew up with it as like the first generation of like home computer people, and I've raised my children. I have older children. I have younger children. I see the benefits of it. I really do. I do think that there is a lot of moderation that has to take place. And so if you don't have the time or capacity to monitor what your child is doing, it is difficult, right? And that's just kind of the world we live in now. That has to be a part of, as much a part of homework as anything, is that the online security world that they're bound to be a part of.
Yeah, you made me actually think about dating applications and how they would actually offer an opportunity for people to interact and even form partnerships and families. But on the other hand, there also could be some risks. So I think that's also an interesting and perspective field.
Sure. And in my personal opinion, I don't think any child under 16 needs to have access to social media at all. I think that is what we've seen, especially with American kids. I apologize, I don't know anything about European children in terms of social media, but what is happening with the kind of online bullying that children are dealing with, it's not something their brains are capable of handling, and we just don't need it. They don't need to have constant interaction with each other. They're only supposed to have that for a couple hours a day at school, like they don't need to be surrounding themselves with the kind of viciousness that the internet trolling brings out in people. So like here in Florida, they've banned social media for anyone under 16, and I'm all for it because, you know, yeah, parents should have the decision to make that. But just because of what we've seen and how detrimental it's been to the mental health of our children, they're like our future. So if we're not focusing on like making sure that they're in a safe world, we're not doing a good job. Any other questions?
Yes, Daisy, I just want to know more how it works from technical point of view. when, for example, a child under 16 wants to get access to Facebook or something or other social media, how this social media website decides whether he's allowed to or not.
I think they have to show an ID. I'm not
Oh.
sure. My children aren't allowed to have social media. And the older ones are adults, so they can, but the two younger ones are not allowed, and they're not interested because they've also heard me talk about, give lectures and stuff on what happens in digital media spaces and how detrimental it can be to children. And so they're probably a little more aware than most children are about the potential hazards. And so they're just really not interested. They play a few games that are online, but they have very secure accounts too. And they are not allowed to play with strangers.
This is the reason they don't have access, or maybe they are more cautious about using application, is that you are conscientious about, and I think that many other families are not like that, and many students are, I don't know, they are educated by the street and mass media, so.
For sure. I mean, it takes a village for sure, because not everyone has, like I said before, not everyone has the time, capability, or even the knowledge of what to do, or that that problem even exists. You know, a lot of people are just, they go to work, they come home, they feed their kids, they go to bed, they get up and do the same thing over again. They don't have time to learn how to, handle malware attacks on their computer, let alone deal with the online harassment that their child might face. So, like, it really is imperative on, as anyone who has the ability to talk about these issues, so that kids can be aware and parents can be aware of the things that they should be looking for, because they might not be aware of those threats. Again,
So
I'm sorry.
the matter of educational quality and problem of inequality access to, I don't know, better understanding and better analysis of arising issues, digital issues. So you were right, actually, when you mentioned digital leadership, the importance of digital leadership, and that experts, or I don't know, opinion leaders should somehow promote better values and perfect models of behavior for both kids and adults.
Agreed. Absolutely. And that's why it's
Maybe
important that all of us are doing these things, and we're all leaders in our own capacity, and we go out into the world and we do good things and we just lead by example.
yeah. And thank you for sharing the concepts, because the better we understand the trans concepts and the right mindset, the better we can serve our communities.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thank you all so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll just, like I said, we will discuss more on data privacy essentials and how you can make sure that the data that's collected online about you is what you want out there in the world. It'll be very interesting, because I have quite a few things to say about the kind of information that is collected about all of us and the profiles that are gathered. So again, thank you all so much for being here, and I appreciate you, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.